Yeah.
We did it. We are now officially 75% of the way through the college football season.
Too fast. Slow.
I know. No, this season, I don't know why exactly, but this season has gone by at about a good 30 to 40% too fast for me.
Yeah.
I would say. I feel like we should be around week 7, 8, but we're not. We're not around week 7.
We should be like 50%, not 75%.
No, we are. It's weird how quickly this year's gone by.
And it's just a weird year too for college football. I mean, where we started off with the rankings. Of course, all preseason rankings are garbage. Right. You don't know what
LSU was in the top.
Penn State was 2.
Penn State was 2. LSU, I think, was like 6 or 7 or something. Yeah, a bunch of people who are freshening up their LinkedIn profiles were ranked. Some of them ranked very, very high coming into this season. So it's been a fascinating year. And I remember a few weeks ago saying, is Indiana this year's Indiana? And the answer has turned out to be yes. It turns out that this year's Indiana is Indiana. Shout out once again to Curt Cignetti, who I love when coaching lifers who work their way up. I mean, I know people love the Wunderkind, back up for 2 years somewhere, and then, maybe a cup of coffee in the NFL, then a GA for 1 or 2 years, and you're the hot offensive coordinator, and then you're the hot coaching candidate. I'm looking at you, Cliff Kingsbury, or whoever, right?
Jeff Hafley's another one. All the rumors now around the Packers defensive coordinator being the Giants' next head coach.
Yep. And, I mean, Hafley took a slightly slower train to the top than did a guy like Kingsbury or –
No, he was only a head coach at Boston for 3-4 years?
3 years, I think. Yeah.
And then
my point is that Kingsbury was on the fastest of fast tracks. I mean, when you work in that he had an NFL career of 5 or 6 years, Hafley, unless I somehow missed it, I don't think played a down of football after he used up his college eligibility. I think he was straight into coaching.
I think you're right on Hafley.
So it took him a little longer to get off the launching pad than Kingsbury. Kingsbury was like a OC for 2 years before people started saying, oh, he's a future head coach.
And it's been a while since we've had a Kingsbury. Somebody, that offensive mind in college football, you're like, that guy, he's about to become the next coach, the next.
The closest, Sean Lewis, sort of, right, who's now kicking ass at San Diego State.
I guess Lincoln? Riley
to some extent. I think Spavital is a guy that's similar. CJ Kinney might be the closest now I think about it.
Yeah.
He had I don't even got to finish his cup of coffee in the NFL before.
None of those guys, I think Lincoln's the biggest one because they fired Stoops to make sure Oklahoma wouldn't lose Lincoln.
Yes.
So it's been a while.
A mutual parting of the ways, in case you're wondering that.
We're forcing your retirement, Stoops. Congratulations.
Hey, oh wait. Turns out on my Outlook calendar says you guys are unveiling a statue to me. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also, if you keep reading,
right below there in the fine
if
print.
If you keep reading, retirement. Congratulations on a Hall of Fame career, Coach Stoops.
And now here's the door.
Man. Lloyd Carr got a similar treatment. It happens sometimes. But this week is chock-a-block with, while they might not be quote-unquote marquee matchups, they're pivotal matchups. They're important games because both at the FBS level, where the playoff picture is slowly but surely coming into focus, at the FCS level, which we'll talk about briefly towards the end of the show, and I think next week, it looks like Zach might be able to, next week he's big time, but also he's amazing. I think he might be on next week. By that point, in the FBS level, they'll probably have a pretty good idea of who's in and who's out. they have a pretty good idea by that point. Oh, come on, don't be weird.
Oh no! I
no,
thought you were
right.
lagging.
Hold on. Let me just
technical difficulties. Yeah, well, we'll just have to get the. Luckily, oh, hello everybody. Yeah. I think the big one, while Bill tries to figure out everything, talk a little level. Last night we had Akron versus Kent State. Kent State, who hasn't won a game in multiple years. They were one of the worst D1 programs, who was on like a 40-game losing streak, and then they interim hire a head coach. I was just talking about Kent State's, 2 wins away from being a bowl game eligible with their win last night against Akron.
Correct. And once again, think of Sean Lewis, so he got his.
Not start. Your mic or your sound is off. Oh, I can hear you, but it's muffled.
How about now?
Still the same, but you're leaning away, so could be.
Hold on, let me make some changes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay,
there it is. Yeah, I heard it click once he plugged whatever in.
Yeah. For some reason, it defaults to my bad mic instead of my rather expensive nice mic whenever something happens like that. So I have to tell it back. Remember the thing I always set you to? Go back to that.
Yeah.
But yes, once again, we're Sean Lewis with his flash fast offense, got his start, and then of course left that job to become an OC under Sanders out at Colorado, and now is gone back to being a head coach after getting a start at, once again, the flash fast at Kent State. Kent State, of course, I think is, physically speaking, the closest D1 program to Canton. If memory serves you correctly.
Correct. Yes, that does.
Yeah, I think they're. So if you ever are at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and maybe say it's a Saturday, you go in the morning, stay for a couple hours, and you want to catch a football game, it's not a very long drive to the campus at Kent State University.
And it would be very cheap tickets.
You
can probably walk into that stadium and nobody.
Practically, yeah. Maction is in full swing as always, and it's always a very fascinating conference because anyone in a year can win or lose to anybody, and you don't get sort of for whatever reason you never have dynasties in the MAC. Like for a long time, Frankie Solich's Ohio Bobcats were really good, but it's not like they won it like 4 or 5 years in a row. They would win it maybe twice in a row at the most, and then get knocked off by Toledo or get knocked off by Northern Illinois or whatever, and then be back up there again.
There's never been a dynasty, like you said. There's never been that school for 10 years running that conference.
The team I think had the best chance to do something like that left the conference pretty quickly. That was Marshall. When Marshall made the transition up from FCS, or was in those days, it wasn't even called FCS, so called 1AA in those days. But when they first made the transition up with, a guy named Randy Moss on the team, and they got their start in the MAC. Fun fact for those that didn't watch Marshall back in this, I watched Marshall every week back in those days. Oh my God. Oh, the things I saw that guy do at Marshall. But they left the conference. They after only 3 or 4 years in the conference. They've now been in Conference USA, the Sun Belt, and the MAC. I think all just in their time in the FBS. But this is not why people watch us.
No,
I don't think it is, at least. There's a bunch of really good games. So let's dig into some of them.
I mean, yeah, tomorrow Friday, big games. You got Oregon versus Minnesota, and then you also have Louisville versus oh God, my phone just crashed. I had the game pulled up so I can have it. It was Louisville versus Clemson. Clemson. This Clemson team can beat anybody at any moment. Louisville has lost to teams they shouldn't have lost to. They have allowed Virginia Tech to fight them for a while.
Yep.
Everybody's key. We just had somebody on last week talking about Miller Moss not being the answer for Jeff Brom, and making the mistake with going that route with him at the quarterback. I mean, I don't know if it was a mistake. They're 7-2 ranked at 20th and still potential to win the ACC.
Correct.
So, I mean, I do think I would not be shocked. That's only a 2.5 point, field goal game. I can see it come down to that game, it's going to be interesting. Jeff Brom, I think I saw rumors that they're giving him a contract extension to keep him in Louisville.
Yeah.
So he's not
smart.
Yeah.
Because there's people sniffing around their coach, as I'm sure they're aware.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Brom, yeah. I would think with that game, it's going to be closer than not. I wouldn't be shocked if Clemson wins, but I would still I see why Vegas has that close. I would put money on just on the money line just to see, but I would go Louisville in that game still. I do think they're still a better team overall.
Yep. I think that when I think about sort of the games this week, some of the ones that sort of stand out to me. Well, I mean, I'll go back to Northwestern. I keep talking about Northweststern every week. It seems like
even though they've been falling for a while.
Yeah, well, they hung around for a while against USC, and then turnovers and frankly just big plays eventually got them. And that's the thing I said in my preview. They couldn't allow explosive plays. Like, that's the thing they can't allow. And now they're going to face Michigan. Now, the good news for them is that Michigan's passing game is suspect. I think it's the term.
And Justice Hayes is not going to be playing.
Hayes isn't there, though. Jordan.
That's it. Marshall.
Yeah, I almost called him Jordan Mason, but I knew that
I wasn't ready for the J. I knew the last name, and you throw Jordan first. I was like, hold on.
I almost said Jordan Mason. His name is like too many other running backs' names.
Yes.
But yes, Jordan Marshall is okay. He's not Justice Hayes, but he's an NFL. He's a future NFL player, and probably more as a rotational back, but he'll play at the next level. And obviously, even in Demetrius, Bryce Underwood, they have a running threat there too. I mean, he's capable of going for 70, 80, 90 yards, 100 yards, even if you don't defend him correctly in a game. So he's averaging
5.3 a carry.
He's averaging 5.3 a carry. And if you give him the ball 20 times, he's going to go for 100 plus yards. I mean, that's kind of math. But I know they don't want him to have to carry the ball that often, but he's completing passes that were just barely over 50%, I think 50.7 or something.
He's at 60.9, sir. 61%.
Really?
Yep.
Is it that high? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then I stand corrected. He's way better than I thought he was. But
he only has 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they pass the ball sparingly, I guess is what I'm driving at. And generally speaking, they want to throw the ball when they want to, not when they have to.
Yeah.
When they throw the ball when they have to, those numbers get worse. A lot of the times he's throwing the football on what people think are run situations, and it's 2nd and 2 or so they're, and plus they have like I said, a really good running game. I think that game comes down to whose defense is able to rattle the other team's quarterback and not give up, not get gashed, not give up. You're going to give up yards. Both teams run the ball well. But if you can make a guy get 79 yards on 23 carries, you're okay. It's if he gets 79 yards on 6 carries that you're in trouble, right? That's what you got to avoid. So Kalamafe for Northwestern also is a guy who entered the year as a backup, right? And then took over when Porter got hurt. So Cam Porter, was supposed to be the guy for them running the ball, and Hayes was supposed to be the guy for Michigan. Both of their backups have performed well. The offensive line matchup is way closer than it normally would be, right? Normally when we compare Michigan and Northwestern, the huge advantage goes to Michigan when we talk to offensive line. One of the strengths of Northwestern is the offensive line. And Caleb Tiernan, they have a legit, I don't know if he's a first rounder. Some people think he is, but he could easily be a top 50 prospect. I wouldn't be surprised if he went in the middle of the second and possibly earlier if he has a great, great Senior Bowl combine sort of combined run. That's the game that interests me. UCLA, right? Once the darlings, once the exciting, fun story. Not quite as exciting, not quite as fun.
They came back down after the little fresh, hot start.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully you sold while they were high. You bought the dip and sold them while they were high. But this is a big, 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 big game for them, and not so much winning or losing, though obviously they'd like to win this game. But if you are Coach Skipper and his 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 young
It-
his young very very hyped offensive coordinator Jerry Neuheisel, for those two, does your team look competitive? Does your team look like it belongs on the same field with Ohio State? If so,
If
that
you beat
argument,
Ohio State, you give Skipper and Newcastle a job right now. You don't.
I mean, if they beat Ohio State, first of all, yeah, you should definitely make sure that put a ring on it, right? You make sure they don't leave. And I don't know why Skipper isn't getting more discussion, even if Ohio State wins this game. If it's a 9-point game, if it's 23-32 or 31-24 or something like that. Like that, to me, that
Ohio
says,
State's a 32-point favorite.
yes, right.
So I mean, if you cover that spread alone, you should be, it was a 32, and with the over a total point of 47 points. Vegas is saying that they're not going to score 2 touchdowns. Which, I mean, Ohio State has averaged like 11 points a game. I think
it's a terrific defense. It is probably the best defense in college football. And if it isn't, Indiana might be. Like, those are 2 really amazing defenses, and they're both in the same conference.
It's going to be interesting when they face each other on the Big Ten. We can announce that those are the big champion, right? Like
we kind of sort of can.
I don't think there's anything. Ohio State has UCLA, Washington, and UC. I'm sorry. I was looking at UCLA's final team. Ohio State has UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan. Michigan could be the only team that they haven't beat them in like 5 years. So but it is at the big house,
right?
But I mean, at that point, they'll be 11 and they would be 11-0. I don't think one loss losing to Michigan would keep them out of the Big Ten.
No. I mean, I think if nothing else has been proven, they clearly respect Ohio State as a program. And I mean, a 2-loss Ohio State team, unless they're bad losses. Now, obviously, they lose to UCLA and then later lose to Indiana, and it's not particularly close. Indiana beats them by 20-something points. Now it gets a little tough for Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, because right now they're the only undefeated. Indiana's 7-0 in the conference, so they could probably lose a game. But if one of those teams lose, then you start talking about there's a big way tie right there for that. Who could be? Is it going to be UCLA, Oregon, Michigan, and are the other ones with only one loss in the conference?
Right, and that's what I'm waiting to see too. That's what I think I'm like most of us. I'm
confident you could probably say 90. And I hate to say it. I said it last year. I thought it was going to happen. I don't know if this Michigan team, because they're just so. I mean, they were one-sided last year, but
even more.
This Ohio State defense is a little better than what they were last year.
Correct.
And it'll be interesting. The game is always interesting to watch there, but
right.
Yeah.
I'm legitimately concerned about Michigan's ability to do anything besides run the ball, and especially if every year we think this is the year that that Ohio State finally gets it done against Michigan, but it does feel like this should be the year that they get it done.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce has only taken 3 sacks on the year, so I mean his legs have definitely been helpful. I mean, that could be the game decider. That's always what kept Ohio State from beating Michigan for multiple years, was they always had the running quarterback, in Michigan, no matter what, could not figure out a way to stop a running quarterback. So it will be interesting. I mean, we're still luckily a month away from that.
Right.
We still have, like you said, 4 weeks of college football left, but I mean, the Big Ten has a lot of big games this weekend, like we said.
Yes. So I guess we can start with the what's your favorite of the games so far?
Of the Big Ten?
Yes.
I think I would have to lean towards hold on. I want to make sure I got all the games, because I do like that Minnesota. I'm looking at that Minnesota Oregon game because Minnesota is a very good team. Then you have Iowa, USC. Yeah, I don't know why. Tomorrow's game, Minnesota, Oregon, is just calling my name for. I think it's gonna be a really interesting matchup. I don't know how they have Oregon as a 25.5-point favorite in that game. Minnesota has been very good this year. They're 6-3. I mean, I don't think people realize how decent Oregon has been, or I mean, Minnesota has been in the competition. They haven't lost that nasty to anybody this year. You know, I guess Iowa kind of beat down on them, but that's the only game. They beat Nebraska. Yeah, I really like that. I don't think Oregon barely snacked away from Iowa last week. And I just feel like this could be another trap game, for Oregon. They were focused on Iowa last week, and then they got their rival next week in USC. So this feels like a trap game for me. I feel like they just had an emotional victory last week against Iowa by 2.
Yep.
Then they got their rival next week against USC. I just feel like this Minnesota matchup, everybody's sleeping on them. And, I understand Minnesota's going to Eugene, but there's something about that. I don't know if they lose by 26 points for sure.
26 points is a lot of points.
You're talking 4 touchdown spread now.
Right. And that's the one thing I will say about Oregon, and they're a good team, is I'm not thrilled about how some of their linebackers play the run. Their linebackers are good linebackers. Don't get me wrong. But some of them play the run by trying to run around blockers, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. Like you are. So people always say, oh, bigger, stronger, faster. Yes and no. You probably know this. So if for those of you that are like me, absolutely obsessed with the NFL draft, the average weight of people listed at inside or Mike linebacker at the 1995 combine was about 7 pounds per average player above what it was at the most recent NFL combine. So at that one position, players are actually trending smaller.
Yeah, you're seeing it more. You're seeing the Quay Walkers, the Isaiah Simmons, I am blanking out on the kid out of Georgia last year who was drafted from Georgia to the Atlanta Falcons. There's a skinny linebacker. What was that kid out of Georgia?
Oh, for a minute I thought about N'Kobe Dean, but you said Atlanta Falcons. That's not N'Kobe.
It might be not Atlanta Falcons. He was a Georgia linebacker, very thin.
There's a fair number of small linebackers coming in.
I know, but he played at Georgia. I thought the Georgia would at least knock it down.
There's more than one. Wait, I do think I know who you're talking about. Like, probably listed at like 224, but probably plays at about 217.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. He looks okay. So you're old enough to remember Sean Taylor. This guy looks like Sean Taylor's little brother. I mean, physically, right? He looks like a smaller Sean Taylor, but he's actually a linebacker. I do know who you're talking about now. Oh my God.
Yes, and it's gonna kill me.
And he wore like a low number in college, right? Almost.
He was a low number.
Right, like a weird name. You look like a possession receiver running around out there in college. I know who you're talking about now.
Yes, and it's.
Yes, I do know who you're talking about.
Hold on, I got Mondin.
Yes,
Mondin Jr.
Smail Mondin. Yes.
Yeah, Smail Mondin Jr.
He did. He looked like a little bit like a possession receiver right around out there.
He was tall but
like
lanky.
7 or something, or some or 11. Was it 11? Something like that. But
yeah, he wore a weird number. But yeah, you're seeing those, like I said, Quay Walker. I mean, Georgia just it kind of has all those small guys, but you're starting to see a lot of these. You're not seeing the Paul Pulunskis. You're not seeing the Luke Kuechly's anymore.
So when I first started writing about the draft, guys like John Offerdahl and Brian Cox. So Cox was like 258 pounds and like 6'3 3/4. And then like it reached peak when we got to Levon Kirkland, right? Who at his lightest, at the early part of his career, is about 272 pounds. At his lightest, he clearly played well into the 290s later in his career as a linebacker. So, yes, it got a little out of control because he probably shouldn't have been quite that heavy. But the point of the fact is that we're always saying is that yes, the line between strong safety and inside linebacker is thinner than ever before.
Yes, very much so. And yeah, that's Oregon. Oregon is, I mean, they barely beat a Penn State team. They barely beat an Iowa team. And I'm not trying to talk bad on Iowa. This Iowa team is better than what most people are thinking. Yep. But this Oregon team is not the Oregon offense that we saw week 1, 2, and 3.
Nope.
So
and it's a combination of things. They're playing some better defenses as part of it.
Yep.
And the other thing I would say, I wouldn't say people have solved their offense. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. But they know what they want to do, and they're taking some of their favorite stuff away, right? And when you make a team play left-handed, that's a really good test of, one, the coaching, but also just they have a lot of talent on that team. But it's not distributed evenly, right?
Yep.
So when you take, Sadiq away, you take like certain guys, once you take them away, they don't have that receiver that terrifies you. They have good receivers. Don't get me wrong, but they have that guy that makes you go, "Oh my God, how do we defend
that guy? How do we make sure?"
Guy, right? They don't have that guy at receiver. They don't. Their running backs are all good. Dante Moore is a future stud at the next level, but he may not quite be done being.
Does he have another year of eligibility?
He has another year. In fact, he theoretically may have more than another year, but I think he comes out as a redshirt junior next year. Okay. I think he's a redshirt sophomore this year. So I think that theoretically, I think he may have 2 more years, but I don't think he would use both.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he came out this year. I mean, I know there's rumors he could be the first quarterback.
If he gets a top 10 grade, then yes, I imagine he would. Because, we'll see what happens with Sellers. And, of course, I told everybody who listened, no matter what happens, I don't think Arch Manning was coming out this year anyway. So
everybody if you have Arch on your board, just move it over to 2027.
There we go. I never had him on my board for this year.
Yeah, I mean.
So I think that the games that we're talking about will all come down to a combination of these things. Does the quarterback understand how to not make bad plays worse? One of the great awakenings for young quarterbacks is realizing, hey, this play didn't work. This play is dead. Let me so going through the list of options, maybe I should just take the sack. Or if I can, get out of the pocket and throw the ball away, I can do that. But don't force balls into coverage. Don't get crushed in the pocket and have a strip sack take place. Like going through the list, you want you learned when you were like 8 years old, you want every possession to end in a kick of some sort, right? And I think the teams, all the games we just talked about, that do that. I mean, UCLA obviously cannot afford, even to make this game somewhat interesting, can't have a single turnover, right? If you put any blood in the water, that could spell utter disaster.
I know it's going to be Oregon's defense because I know Minnesota's defense or offense has sputtered multiple times this season.
Yep.
But if that offense does get going, and they've had their moments to shine where they have got moving, if you allow that to happen this weekend or tomorrow, not like I said, Sunday night or Friday night at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, it could be interesting. The quarterback for Minnesota does have a turnover issue. That could be, that's going to be the big thing. Neither Minnesota, shockingly, who usually has a running back, doesn't have a running back this year.
Yeah, you're right. They've always Maroney. There's no
Ibrahim. I always thought Ibrahim was going to be a really good NFL running back.
Yeah, he broke down.
He did that. He physically just could not stay. And
he broke down.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say: they do have a good tight end, right? They have some pieces. They're sort of like Iowa without running backs, which doesn't sound great when you say it out loud.
Yeah,
but their offense is a little more schematically interesting than Iowa's offense, which is admittedly is a low bar to cross.
Yeah, and that's never. Yeah, you're like, ooh.
I admit that's not a very challenging bar, but they might be able to make things interesting. I want to talk about a game that is not sexy at all, but is interesting to me because I want to see sort of which team still plays like it cares. Purdue, Washington.
Purdue gave a run for their money last week to Michigan.
Right. Washington was like a sexy dark horse to contend for some people coming into this year, and that did not happen.
It did. I mean, they flirted with it multiple times.
They flirted with it. That's the way to put it. They flirted with it. And I'm a big fan of the quarterback. I think Damon Williams is eventually an NFL, maybe not starter, but he's an NFL quarterback for years. I think that guy has NFL talent, at least like a bridge to high-level backup. I see him as being, and maybe in the right situation, a starter. But I like him a lot. They used to have really good defensive backs. Remember those days when they?
Yes, I unfortunately remember those days, sir. Trust me, one of those defensive backs cost me a Super Bowl appearance.
Right, exactly. So, but at one point, they were like trying to throw their hat in the ring for the DBU.
Yes,
thing,
they were.
Alabama, along with obviously places
Ohio
State and LSU. And they were trying to get involved in that at one point. And maybe it's because their defensive backs coach, later coordinator, later head coach, is no longer there. Maybe it's because the being in the Big Ten thing is not helping them recruit. I don't know. But I've seen a real drop-off in both the talent level and, frankly, the playing, the actual production that you used to get in terms of PBUs and solo tackles. They used to have these just flat out terrific, Marcus Trufant. I mean, a long list of
you could just keep naming the names because you had Taylor Rapp, you had Kevin King. He did have the talent.
A bunch of them. And now I look at, they have one or two guys that'll be in a camp, but and maybe even some fringe draftable. But there's no guy where like, wow, I don't know what happened with that, but so I think Purdue has a puncher's chance to make this a really interesting game because the one thing Purdue can do is they just give us some interesting stuff on offense. Is there a lot of talent there to execute the stuff? No, they don't have a lot of talent. Purdue used to at least have like one like sort of freaky explosive player somewhere on their team. It might have been Dustin Keller. Yeah, even Dustin Keller, who is a super back, tight end, H-back, whatever you want to call him, kind of move around piece. But they had at least one guy who would be on Feldman's freak list or something like Feldman's freak list if it was too far back. My dad, shout out to my late father, actually used to play recreational sports against a guy named Leroy Keys, who was at one point a Heisman Trophy candidate. Finished third or fourth or something. And he played both ways a little bit in his time at Purdue. Later, Rod Woodson. There's one guy, right, where it's like, wow, I'm not finding that guy on this current version of their roster.
It's been a while since they've had that guy.
I
think Rondell Moore. Rondell Moore literally beat Ohio State by himself.
Yes. Ohio State remembers.
Yeah, they remember. Yeah, they still shudder at the name Rondell Moore.
Yes, proving that bubble screens can be explosive plays.
Don't ever show Matt LaFleur or Josh Heupel those clips.
Woo! Bubble screened him to death. And then he had a punt return touchdown too, if I remember correctly.
He did. Yeah, he had a kill. Yeah, I got to ask you because I remember, sir. At the beginning of the season, we talked a little bit about they're on bye this week, but I just got to bring them up. How's your Rutgers doing?
Wait, I wasn't that high.
Sir, you were high on Rutgers.
No, I think
you said they could win 9 games, sir.
I thought I said 9 was the ceiling. I think I said 7. I'm almost certain I said 7 to 9, with 9 being the ceiling.
You were a little bullish on it.
It was our friend Whoops who I think had the highest regard for Rutgers. But yeah, I thought they could easily win 7 to 9 games. Not easily. I thought they could win 7 to 9 games. I don't think I said. I think easily was an exaggeration. But and we'll see what happens, right? They still
can get to 7. They have Ohio State and Penn State.
Yes. Now the Penn State game now looks very different to us than it would have going into the season. The Ohio State game still looks like exactly how we thought it would look. I don't like their chances against Ohio State. Their chances against Penn State are...
And it's at home for Penn State.
Yeah. That to me, that's a pick'em game. Frankly,
It's going to be. I mean, what Penn State are you going to get? Are you going to get the Penn State that just put wire to wire against Indiana, or are you going to get the
they
Penn
play
State?
like that, they're going to win that game by 2 touchdowns. Or are we going to see the team that got beat up, frankly, by Northwestern? I mean, they got pushed around like that. Northwestern isn't out there, doing. We went Cliff Kingsbury. They're not doing that. They're not doing Texas Tech stuff. They're an old school Big Ten offense, and they pushed Penn State's defense around.
They did.
So if they show up and play like that, like they did against Northwestern, yeah, I mean they're gonna lose by at least 10 points to Rutgers. So you're right. Which one do we get? I think Iowa USC is fascinating. Another one of those. Which way are you headed? Like one of these teams is going to come out with a lot of confidence and a lot of spring in their step, and the other one's going to limp its way into the bad boy.
Yeah, Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah, whatever. Right? If maybe not even the Pop-Tart Bowl. They might be hoping to get it.
USC has a nice little tough stretch coming up.
Yeah, they do.
But I mean, luckily it's all on their coast. They got Iowa this weekend. Then they go to Oregon, and then they have UCLA coming to them. So they have back-to-back, their rivalry weeks there, and then they got Iowa. I would not be shocked if Iowa won this game. Iowa should have beat Oregon last week, and it was the bad punt, the snap in for the safety that cost literally Iowa the game.
Right, true, but if USC runs the table, admittedly unlikely, but if they win these last 3 games, they beat Iowa, they beat Oregon, and obviously the battle for Los Angeles against UCLA, they've still got an outside shot at the college football playoffs.
I would definitely, if they went out with 2 top 25 opponent wins, definitely with Oregon being a top 10, I would say they fly up the boards and they probably do sneak into. They take Oregon's spot because Oregon, that would be interesting. But we can get down that committee and talk about the bias and how the head-to-head matchups don't really matter. Because at that point they would both have the same record, and USC would have beat Oregon. But how would the committee look at that?
That is an interesting question. I mean. And once again, I'm going to admit my bias. I've been a USC fan since I was, probably since Lynn Swann was a junior in college. So that'll put it in perspective.
They're always my West Coast team. I've always had a place for
Same
USC.
Here. They've been my West Coast team since I was in, first grade or kindergarten.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard not to love, when I was in high school, watching the Matt Liners, the Reggie Bush, the Lindell Whites of the, even then you had I'm blanking out on the quarterback, white boy. I mean,
Matt Liner?
Not after Matt Liner. There's
so the line of quarterbacks after Liner included people like John David Booty, including people like Max Brown for a hot second.
He was supposed to be a first-round pick and came back and then completely tanked his stock.
Oh, you mean Matt Barkley?
Matt Barkley,
the other Matt, who won his first game on the road at night in the Horseshoe. At Ohio State. I remember that game, like clearly. I think Robert Woods was a sophomore or junior on that team.
Let's be honest. We want to talk about wide receiver U. It's USC to this day.
Nobody
has the same playing
of great wide receivers. And
anytime you see a wide receiver coming out of USC, you're dumb not to draft them because I don't think they've never. They play. I mean, even you had the Mike Williams, whatever. You've had the couple, but for the most part. In the last 20 years, they have all hit. There hasn't been one that hasn't, like you said, at least
they're gonna
had
play.
a 2-3 year run and last in the league.
But I mean, the last big time bust were all the big guys, right? Dwayne Jarrett, Michael Williams. Remember that draft that had 3 wide receivers named Michael Williams in it?
Yes.
Syracuse Michael Williams, the
Michigan State,
UC. Was it UCF? There was one who was from one of the Florida schools. And then obviously the USC went, was it?
I thought it was Michigan State.
Syracuse. It was Central. Was it Central? It was one of the UCF is Central Florida, Bill. USF maybe? Was it US? Somebody somewhere in Florida had a Michael Williams. The point is that only one of them really made it, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact is that once they got away from the big kind of slow receivers like Dwayne Jarrett, Mike Williams, and there was one other one whose name I've now forgotten. But once they moved away from those guys as being the hyped up guys, and then now their big guys are athletic, like Michael Pittman Jr. or
Amon St. Brown.
Well, no, he's not that big. I'm talking about the guy that played basketball. Drake London.
Drake London, yes.
Yeah. But the point is that they're certainly, at one point, Tennessee was considered wide receiver U. At one point, Miami was, and we'll go to Miami next, I guess, was a contender for wide receiver U.
Ohio State probably is the next closest in the last.
They're close. They're right there.
They're a recent wide receiver U. They're in the last 15 years.
It started. Well, I mean, you could bring up guys like the Moss brothers, and you can bring up guys like, of course, the playmaker Michael Irvin, and they've got some really good wide. Andre Johnson Jr. was.
Oh, you're at Miami. I was talking about Florida or
I forgot about Florida. Yeah, they had some good ones. Riddell Anthony.
I meant to say Ohio State. Ohio State recently.
Shout out to Jaquez Green, Coach Green, who we follow each other on Twitter. We talk occasionally. But yeah, they had some pretty good receivers. And from my neck of the woods, right? Percy Harvin from the 757, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Coached by my friend, who now is out of coaching, but my friend Steve Cantor, who coached him in high school. But let's get back to Miami. So you mentioned briefly the Miami game versus a dangerous NC State. NC State, of course, put the first and only loss on Georgia Tech. And once again, for those who are in the draft stuff, remember this name, C.J. Bailey. C.J. Bailey is a thrilling quarterback prospect, and he, conceivably could come back for 2 more years, but I think he's probably in next year's draft.
I think next year. I think the next year or two could be crazy, depending on some of these kids.
It could be but Bailey is legit. He was the basketball and the football player of the year in North Carolina.
I didn't know about this C.J. Bailey. I'm looking at his stats.
Yeah, so
70% completion, almost 71% completion rating.
Yeah, so for those that are not familiar with North Carolina, they play some basketball there. So at I can't remember if it was a 3A or a 4A level, but he was the player of the year at whichever level he played. And, like a machine in both sports. He was a guy that was like 18, 10, and 12 or something as a hooper, like averaging a triple-double. So, fantastic player. If like Randall Cunningham and Drake May had a baby, that baby might be C.J. Bailey. He has that like wiry, whippy body. He does need to speed up his release. That's one concern is he's got that sort of slingshotty, whippy release. Got to tighten that up, but I'm sure his quarterback coaches will work with him on that. But
that hasn't stopped players getting drafted, though. That's
no, Randall Cunningham had a nice career. A few guys have had nice careers.
Penix still has that ugly.
Right, but I mean, once again, if you could speed it up, that's the whole thing. Can you? It doesn't. What's my father used to say? When I look in the score, there's just numbers, no pictures. Yeah. So it doesn't matter sort of how it looks coming out as long as it gets there. But he does need to probably just to keep defensive backs from getting a good jump, speed it up a little. But that's a fascinating game to me.
It is because, like you said, NC State is a very good team. They did kill off Georgia Tech, and they did it pretty well too. They've put up points. The only team they really struggled against this year was Notre Dame, where they only put up 7 points. But the rest of the year, they're averaging around 24, 25 points, when you do the math. So in Miami, we all knew it was going to happen. It's what Cristobal does. He just loses games he shouldn't. SMU is probably the big one. Louisville's a decent team, but they lost. SMU is the big one. They weren't the same SMU as last year. Correct. But like this is another game. I think this is another game because he has Florida State and North Carolina. Again, I'm stuck on North Carolina State. He has Virginia Tech and Pitt to finish after this season. Pitt could beat him.
Yep.
He could lose this weekend. He could lose. Is Cristobal's job on the line if he loses these 3 games?
I mean, if he loses all of them, there'll be rumblings, and there's a lot of coaches out here looking for work.
Now you're at the point where you're coaching. I think there's so many big jobs. I think the coaches that are on those jobs, you're trying to pay them. And then if you're a coach like Wisconsin knows, like, oh, if we fired Luke Fickell, we're not getting another person better than Luke Fickell right now. We haven't gave him the best tools, and we admitted that. So we're going to commit to him for another year so we can commit kids to come to us and give him the money to get the kids to let him build. And they realize that, hey, we're not going to get somebody better because we're good with all the coaching firing. We're going to be very low on the totem pole of
And then if you add to that, hey, if some of the bigger names like Kelly, like Franklin sit 1 year, if indeed it doesn't work out and we fire him next year, we have a better shot at getting one of those guys if they sat for a year, especially if they get out in front of it fast, right?
Yes.
Week 3, things are not going well. Week 4, things aren't going well. We can be first, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate that teams think that way, that schools think that way, but they do, right? They think that, okay, we'll keep our powder dry. And as was mentioned, in fairness, he has not had the best possible situation. Another game that really interests me is, once again, two teams that are sort of, we'll see, you know, which one is maybe setting itself up to be better next year. Mississippi State and Missouri are both interesting teams, right? And they're both the kind of teams that could upset somebody this year. They both are sort of that upset bait kind of team.
I've had to go to Mississippi State. I just can't do it anymore. Every time I've given them my love as that, I'm like, I believe in you. You're gonna do it. You're gonna upset. You're gonna do this because you. Hey, they're 5-5. They're better than what they were last year. But man, I thought they would give Georgia a little bit run of their money. Georgia just laughed at them. You know, they struggled against Arkansas. You know, they should have had Texas. They lost to Florida. I mean, I don't think they make a bowl. I think Missouri beats them, and I don't see them having a chance in the Egg Bowl.
No. Well, first of all, Lane Kiffin, he's one of those guys that waits a little longer than some coaches to call the dogs off, as they say. And that's a traditional rivalry. I could see that game getting ugly if Mississippi State doesn't really show up and probably play their best game of the year in order just to keep it from getting unpleasant for them.
It is a big weekend in the SEC, though.
It's a big week, right?
Because you got Oklahoma at Alabama, and you have Texas at Georgia. You got two top 10 matchups, pretty much. I mean, Oklahoma's at 11, but whatever. Two top 12 matchups in the SEC this weekend, and that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Because, where are you at on Alabama Ty Simpson?
I think he's solid, but I think people are kind of overdoing it. You know what I mean? Like,
I might be one of those people. You know, every time I hate it to the core. As a Tennessee fan and as a avid Alabama, I'm tired of seeing them win.
Yep.
Ty Simpson, I hated on him at the beginning of the season. I didn't think he was it. He's made me eat my words. And now but you know, I've fallen trap to all Alabama quarterbacks for a while. But Ty Simpson, he reads the defenses. He reads his progressions. He has pretty footwork. He has the mobility that you don't expect. I think Ty could be the number one quarterback in this draft if he wanted to.
Could. My NFL comp and my ceiling for him as an NFL prospect is Derek Carr. So if you put him in the right situation, I think he'd have a similar kind of career that Derek Carr had. But
did Derek Carr have his legs?
Derek Carr was a good athlete, especially a good basketball player. Once again, ask Devontae Adams, right? They used to hoop together. They used to go against some of the guys at the basketball team at Fresno. Apparently held their own, supposedly. Now that's according to
them
Carr/Adams legend. They may be exaggerating how well they did, but he was a good athlete. I mean, I think he ran in the low 4.7s or high 4.6s when he was signed to the combine.
Where do you think that game goes? Do you think Alabama's defense stifles that Oklahoma offense?
I feel like if Oklahoma's offense is mistake-free, that game is going to be tight.
Yeah.
If Alabama, because I think Alabama's defense isn't as good as we think it is. Like, I think we've talked ourselves into thinking it's Alabama's defense again. Like, oh, it didn't look great early in the year, but no, they're back. Yes, like the truth is between how bad they looked at their worst and how good they look now. The truth is somewhere between the two.
I think what was it? And I think against Tennessee at that point, they only had like 6 or 7 sacks on the season. They doubled their sack total against us, which is always fun. You're right. Like they don't have the elite.
They do not. That game skewed it a little bit, but they still struggle to generate pressure.
Yeah. And that's what I think this Alabama defense doesn't have the Alabama, like that guy's going 1, that guy's going 1, that one's going 1, that guy's going.
Even their secondary, while once again 3 out of the 4 are going to play in the NFL.
Yeah,
maybe the 4th one too. But I feel solidly convinced that 3 out of the 4 at least play in the NFL. But none of those guys are mind-boggling to me. Like I don't see a single guy in that secondary who go, oh man. I don't see a Brian Branch. I don't see a guy where I'm like, man, that guy's a monster. Like I don't see a guy that terrifies me.
So who do you have? Would you have Alabama leaning that way? It's 5.5 right now.
Oh, that's probably about right.
And this is in Tuscaloosa at 3:30.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, Alabama probably does win that game, but it's gonna be tight. I will not be shocked if Oklahoma is leading at the half. More shocking at all.
No.
I think, once again, does Oklahoma avoid making mistakes? Because Oklahoma, in the game that's lost, has either made terrible mistakes on offense or terrible mistakes on defense or both, right? In all the games they've lost, like their run fits in one of the games was just, I don't know what the – remember when – I think we had my friend Nolan on to talk about it. Like, It was shocking how bad their run fits were. Like, there would be 2 guys in one gap and nobody in the next gap over. Like what's going on, right? Like what are we doing?
I don't know if they have the run. I don't like Oklahoma's run attack,
and that's why I think Alabama does win this game.
Yeah, I mean you're gonna be close though. I think Alabama is gonna force Mateer to win the game, and I don't know if Mateer can win the game.
I think he's capable of winning the game, but he has to do it without committing turnovers.
And that's
the problem.
There.
That's the problem, right? When you're playing hero ball, is usually at some point it blows up in your face. Yeah. Especially against, and it is still a good defense. Like even though I'm saying it isn't as good as some people,
it's not Ohio State's defense. It's not Indiana's defense. It's a 30 defense. It's in the top 30, 40.
Yeah, it's a top 30 defense. Exactly. It's a top 30 defense.
What about?
For most people, would be like a woohoo, right? I mean, but
I would die for a top 30 defense.
Not as impressive.
What about this Texas going to Georgia game?
Yes, I knew we were going to talk about. I figured we were going to talk about that next. If Texas has one more in it, it'll be this game. One more game where they look like a possible, top 15 kind of team. I still don't think that is enough for them to win, but if we'll get a good sense of like what kind of team this could be. And once again, Texas is a year away, right? I think that's what people.
I think too much people put too much pressure on an Arch.
But not just that, like the whole team is a year away. Like the defense isn't, because I thought there was going to be a team that the defense and running game was going to frankly carry them, and it didn't, right? So that's the other thing, right? That Arch wouldn't have had to be what people thought if they had the defense and running game that they had last year, even, right? They don't have last year's defense and running game.
And they don't have last year's weapons, running back. This team was depleted, and then you're like, and Arch is going to be the savior with no talent. Here we go. And they have talent. I'm not trying to hate.
They have talent, but it's just, I mean, Florida even has talent. Like, it's funny when I say that these teams are quote unquote down talent wise, I'm comparing them to them, not to, San Diego State or what I mean, like, which is actually a really good football team, but they don't have the kind of talent that Florida or Texas has. So
I think
all that is to say, yeah.
if Arch has a game he did against Vanderbilt, I think he's really these last couple of weeks has really started to get comfortable against the big games and getting comfortable as a starter in the college level.
Yeah.
And this could be one of those games. It's a touchdown favorite in a night game in Athens. So I get that it's going to be another big test for this Texas team.
Yep.
But this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Yep. I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia even covers, but not by a lot. I think it's the line's 7.
So.
Oh, 6.5. Yeah. So I think they cover. I think they get to maybe even 8 points. So I think they cover. I just think it's close. I think it's tight. But I think Arch shows enough that the people who are starting to call him a bust feel silly.
Yeah.
Which is, it's silly to call anybody who hasn't even had 8 starts. And now he's, at least approaching, he's now in the double digits by starts. But it's just silly to call somebody after, 6 or 7 starts a bust. That's ridiculous in college.
I think Georgia wins. I mean, I think it's going to be a turnover game. If they can force Stockton to make a couple of mistakes on defense, none of these guys have a running attack. Their best rushers 600 yards and 300, 400, like 330. Weiser only has 338 yards and Frazier only has 575 yards.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be forcing the quarterbacks to win the game and which quarterback makes the least mistakes.
Right.
And I feel like that's been the whole conversation all night long. It is. I think another fun one is Arkansas and LSU.
Yes. For very different reasons than we would have thought as the season began, but yes, I agree.
Yeah, we don't even have to worry about my team this week because we jokingly before we went live, it's our SEC bye week with New Mexico State. We're a 40-point favorite.
Oh, woo!
Moving on.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech has what should be a pretty easy win against Boston College.
We haven't talked about the game of the week.
Yes, we haven't.
I mean, we got Notre Dame going to Pitt.
That, my friends, I won't be shocked at all if Pitt wins that game. Not even a little bit. For 2 reasons. Jeremiah Love has covered up many of the ills of Notre Dame this year, and CJ Carr has played well. He played well. I don't have to qualify it. He played well. I was about to put.
I saw on the Todd McShay show people talking about Carr as a first rounder.
See, this is what people should not be allowed to do. we just talked about how they did this silly thing with Arch, and I don't know why people do this. Why? What's the point? One, he can't be in this draft anyway, right? He doesn't. He's not even eligible to be in the draft. 2, what have you seen that says first round? Has he made a handful of really nice throws? Yes. Yes, he's made a handful of really nice throws. When will people learn that sample sizes matter?
You would think that, right? You would think the NFL would learn, hey, that guy only played 1 season as a starter, and that's never worked out to be a first-round draft pick. Let's not take that guy. Let's tell him to go back another year.
Remember people trying to sell me on Cardell Jones after 6 games?
Yeah.
And I said to them, no. I said to them, no. Like, if you think that's a first-round pick, go on. But no, that's a mid-rounder. And all he's shown me is that he can get hot for a short period of time. He never was in the running to win the job. It took an injury to put him out there. He wasn't going to ever win the job at Ohio State. Ever. People, I don't know, whatever. The shiny object.
I would not be shocked. I do think Pitt has all the chance. And if Notre Dame loses that game, I think that's it. They're dead. They're dead in the water. If a 3-loss team with all these other really good 2-loss, 1-loss teams that are outside looking in, I don't know how you. But
this would be where not having a conference championship game actually finally sort of catches up with them. If they were in a place where they could beat some good team in a conference championship game, then boom, they're right back in it. This is where being an independent with a iffy-ish schedule this year works against them. So yes, they have to stay a 2-loss team. They have to. Like they don't have. There's no way. Frankly, I don't think any 3-loss team should get it. But if there was, it wouldn't be them. Their resume is okay, but it's not mind-boggling.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not. And I mean, what's their best win?
Their best win, the USC.
USC, right? A USC team that has to win out to have a shot at the playoffs, right? Right.
Exactly.
Their best win would be a team that is a fringe playoff team if they run the table from this point forward. That's their best win.
And they lost to Miami. And
right.
now, that's at that time, it was week 1. Again, as we found out by the committee, early losses don't matter.
They care less about early losses. But that does concern me a little bit. Like if I'm Notre Dame, you have only one semi-high quality win, and you better pray that USC continues to play well. If USC stumbles and ends up 8-4, like that's not a great win. That's an okay win, but yeah. So they need.
We pretty much knocked out. If you've heard the doomsday scenario about the ACC, correct?
Oh, where nobody gets in?
Yeah. And we predicted it. We've predicted it. Yeah. If Notre Dame beats Pitt, that knocks Pitt out of the conversation. Right. Clemson beats Louisville, that knocks them out of the conversation. Right. NC State beats Miami. Boston College isn't beating Georgia Tech.
No.
Georgia Tech is and then you got Virginia. But if Duke,
Georgia Tech and Virginia are both right in there, yeah.
If Duke can somehow magically, because of how they're talking about how Duke is like the key to all this right now because of where they're at in the standings.
Yep.
Because they're 4-1. Like right now, this conference is all 4-1. If you have a Duke champion in the ACC, they're not getting there. That's the highest ranked top 5 conference champions. And then all those other schools are not in the top 20. They're not in the top 12. Right. There is a strong likelihood that there's not an ACC school.
It's possible. I don't think that ends up playing out that way, but you're right. It could conceivably happen.
It would be fun. It would be fun to see it happen.
Fun to see that. And fun at wacky stuff. But like if Georgia Tech doesn't lose any more games, goes into a championship game against Virginia and loses to Virginia, I would still take them over Notre Dame.
Georgia. So, okay.
I would take Georgia Tech over Notre Dame if they had 2 losses and Notre Dame had 2 losses.
Okay. You say that. Georgia Tech, they should win this week in Boston College.
Yeah, but
next week, what if they lose to what if Pitt loses this week against Notre Dame? So they'll go into next week unranked. And what if Georgia Tech loses to Pitt, and then they go and play Georgia and lose to Georgia?
Right. Well, at that point, even if they beat Virginia, they're probably out, right?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Well, that is a good
question. The ACC is a conference of death right now because they're just beating each other up.
They could end up in that, or they end up with 2 teams getting in, right? Because Virginia is still crazily slept on. They're a really good football team.
But they just keep sneaking out wins, and they finally caught up with them against Wake Forest.
Against of all people,
they should have fell a lot further than they did losing to the Wake Forest.
Well, and now Wake Forest is about to face Carolina. We'll see what happens, right? Maybe Wake Forest is going to get hot. Or maybe they get waxed by UNC, which would be interesting.
Wake Forest is 6-3. They could finish out the season. They could legit win 9 games because North Carolina they could beat.
So that could turn into a quality loss if Wake Forest, let's say Wake Forest boat races Carolina, right, and then doesn't lose another game, then they're 9-3, and that turns into a pretty good loss for Virginia. And if Virginia doesn't lose another game until they get into the championship game, I would still take a 2-loss Virginia. over Notre Dame, quite frankly.
But if they lose to Duke, I mean, Virginia Tech, you never know with rivalry games, but I would imagine Virginia handles Tech.
Yeah, I mean, rivalry games are tricky, but I'll be shocked if they don't win that game.
Yeah, no, I just think it's fun to talk about because
It is.
of that situation where it's currently at in college with the ACC.
Yep. I have to talk about my other sort of fun. It's not a trap game because South Carolina is a good enough team that they aren't a trap game. But
I wanted to talk
if
about
South Carolina has one last hurrah in them, it could be this week.
We keep saying this week in and week out, but like
Right.
you and me both have fallen into this trap that this is the week that South Carolina's going to do it.
Probably not. But I'm
Because I
saying
think
that
Texas
if they
A&M
wanted to show somebody something, if they wanted to say, we're not dead yet, this would be that week. This is their chance. Texas A&M is a really good football team.
They really are.
They might be the best team in the SEC.
I don't think. I think it's safe to say they are right now.
Yeah, right. So if you want one last chance to show everybody that you've got something left in you, South Carolina, well, at least deny them the cover, right? Don't let them cover.
Which is 19 and a half.
I think South Carolina could at least deny them a cover. This could end up being a game where it's, 10 points, 9 points, 8 maybe even. I think Texas A&M does win, but we'll find out. One is how good a coach Shane Beamer is, right? Because if you can get your team to hang around and be still within a score as the fourth quarter begins, that means one, you're a good coach, and two, your team has still got something going. Still got some.
And you have to win this game because you could win out. If you win this game, you win out. You get a bowl because you got Coastal next week. You should win that. And you got Clemson, which you could win is another winnable game. You could, if you win out, you make a bowl. You are fighting for somebody. You can ruin Texas A&M's day, and then you could also ruin Clemson's day because you could knock your rival out of a bowl game because they need to win out to be a bowl game.
That's like a loser leave town match kind of situation. Like one of those teams is going to see their bowl hopes probably evaporate in that South Carolina versus Clemson game.
Yeah, I think a fun one to talk about is Navy South Florida.
Yes. Speaking of having implications possibly for the college football playoffs. Now, USF clearly has to win out, obviously.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. And they may even still need a little help, even with that. But they're a really good program. And once again, that's why Alex Golish's name is on so many, fan bases' lips. Because I could see him succeeding at LSU. I could see him succeeding at Florida. I could see him. There's a lot of places I could see Golish.
Yeah, I just don't know if Florida goes group of 5 again.
I mean, they might not, but that'd be silly. Don't scout helmets when it comes to coaches either. Like, they should interview him at least and then see.
I agree. I mean, he's right there. You'd be dumb not to be like, come on.
And he's a really good football coach.
And he had a successful offense in the SEC. Yeah, Alex Golish is 100% not the coach of South Florida next year.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to pay him. They're a big school: Virginia Tech, Arkansas, Penn State, LSU, Florida. Somebody's going to come and knocking and double his salary, and then he's going to have the money to even get bigger and better players to fit his system.
Yep.
Yeah, I think in this game it's a 10-point favorite for South Florida. Like, I do think this Navy team's a really good team. South Florida does have to win out. South Florida has to win this game to pretty much ensure their American League championship game.
Yep.
So, and again, I'm still, as much as I love Brown. I love watching Brown. Brown is one of the most. Is he going to be an NFL quarterback? No, but
he can play some other position, or play someplace other than the NFL.
He's just going to be so fun. He's just so fun to watch.
Yep.
What do you got on Arizona, Cincinnati?
That's what I'm thinking about, right? I think Cincinnati might win that game.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I know Cincinnati's the ranked team, but this Arizona team is still pretty good.
Yep.
Their quarterback is playing really well in Arizona. Fafita?
Yep. Both quarterbacks, Fafita and Sorsby, are.
Yeah.
Fafita struggled mightily last year. I don't know if he was hurt. Like, I don't know what happened to him last year, right? He was really good the year prior to that, and then he struggled like all get out last year. And now he's righted the ship, I guess. He looks more like the guy I saw, the year prior.
Yeah, I mean, they have this as a touchdown spread. This is in Cincinnati. Like you said, Sorsby's. A lot of these quarterback, Sorsby's another one. People are, pushing up the board, everybody's trying to find that quarterback.
Yep. I'm interested to see that game. Like, there's a lot of things about that game. And Fafita's one of those guys who could push his way, into middle of day 3, possibly even late day 2 if everything goes well for him.
Size is his concern.
Size a concern, yes. And
everybody's going to be scared of Bryce. How bad Bryce? The struggles of Bryce. I wouldn't say Bryce has looked good at times and he's looked bad at times, but his size has been his concern. And Fajitas,
we've seen Kyler Murray. We've now Dylan Gabriel. To me, my issues are less even about just pure height with him. I would like to see him get a little bigger, like thicken up a little.
Same with Bryce. Everybody's worried. It wasn't the height as much; it was the weight. Same with it's gonna be the same with me.
I'd like to see that, but yes, these are. Sorsby is a guy that is interesting, and I am higher on him than most people. I think he's once again a guy who could be a high-level NFL backup. I think he's got sort of like a Mike Kafka floor. Shout out to Mike Kafka, who is a interim coach now, but got kind of a Mike Kafka floor, and maybe his ceiling is.
Oh God, what's the other backup in New England forever? Hoyer.
Yeah, more athletic. Maybe a more athletic Hoyer.
Jeff Garcia.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah, he has a shot at that. There's some things to like about him, and then Fafita. And not just because he's Polynesian, but he reminds you of like a miniature Marcus Tuiasosopo. A lot of because first of all, he's tough as heck. That offensive line struggled last year. Also, I mean, he had one really good offensive lineman, the kid Noah Savea, who got.
I love that kid. He was one of my draft crushes. Huge in the draft.
Yep.
He was slept on. Yeah.
But the rest of the offensive line, not that great.
Yeah.
He was really kind of it. And now the offensive line as a whole is better, though they have a guy I like as much as that player. Let's see. A couple other games to hit on, and then
TCU BYU.
Yes. So BYU now needs to not lose any more games, right? To still give themselves a chance, because if they don't win the conference, which is now looking like they will be unlikely to win that conference, they have to at least be, a one-loss team in order to give themselves a shot.
I hate this. I said it last week. This Texas Tech team's legit. I hated on their head coach, Joey. This could be my apology tour now. You can give me the crying music in the background. This is the first time I watched this Texas Tech team this year.
Oh.
As much as I've wanted to watch them, times have never worked out to watch them because of other games. That defense on Texas Tech is scary. And let's be honest right now, Jacob Rodriguez for Heisman. Jacob Rodriguez is the Heisman. I'd push those quarterbacks out. Jacob Rodriguez is your Heisman. Like, at this point, if it's not Jacob Rodriguez in this year, completely get rid of the Heisman as any other player and call it the best quarterback, because at this point, you're never going to give it, or offensive player, because you're never going to give it to defender. Because
here's the funny thing: he's not even the best player on their defense. He's the most important player on the defense. He's not the best player on the defense.
No, he's just he's the best player with the statistics. He's having a Manti Te'o.
He's the most important player on the defense.
Yeah.
He leads the defense. But Romello Heights the best.
You'll see him Sunday, but he'll be that guy that goes late day 2, early around day 3, and he's that guy that is like, why did he go so late? And he has a 10-year career.
He'll go to some good team, and we'll all be mad. He'll go to Denver or something.
Yeah, and and be that linebacker that is solid for freaking 10 years and has 100 tackles every season. You're like, how did this guy just go this late? Like, Texas Tech. I don't know if there's a team in the Big 10 or the Big 12 that can beat them. I mean,
I don't think Texas Tech, I think that they're far out in the head.
Do you think Bear could have a better game if it wasn't in that environment? Do you think if they face each other again in the Big 12? Do you think if it's on a neutral site, does Bear have a better chance?
It's probably a slightly closer game, but you could see the talent difference. Like
you could.
Texas Tech is low.
That even though that Texas Tech struggled at times with scoring, you never felt like that game was ever going any other way but Texas Tech.
Yep.
Yeah, but BYU, TCU, yeah, they have 3 losses, but they've played really well this year. I mean, this is at a big. Where's BYU at? Is it Salt Lake?
Yeah. Provo actually.
Provo, there it is, Provo. Yeah,
but I mean, the next major city is probably Salt Lake. But yeah, they're in Provo.
Yes, this TCU team has been how do I want to say it? Polarizing. One week super hot and saying you think they could be one of the best teams, and then the next week they look like complete opposites. If they're like the team you saw week 1 against North Carolina, and that quarterback was looking good, or Baylor, some of these teams where this offense has just gone off, they could beat this BYU team.
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked. That could be my upset of the week. I would not be shocked if TCU.
You may have found your upset of the week. I think that's going to be a fun game. It's definitely on my watch list. I'll be watching that game. That game will be super, super fun. Let's do a mini speed run through the FCS. Montana is undefeated and has won 10 straight games. They are an absolute monster program. They are 10-0, and no one's even come super close. I mean, they destroyed. So the closest. Let's see what's the closest. The closest thing to a close game. North Dakota. Duh. That was a thriller. That was a 1-point game. So they have had a close game. The next closest game after that's probably Cal Poly. Shout out to which was a 19-point game, and they've essentially. Eastern Washington was a close game, right? Because that was 5 points. So they've been a few. But next they face the Vikings of Portland State. They will probably win that game handily, and they have essentially clinched a playoff spot. But sticking in that same conference, they've got Montana State, which is a 2-loss team, 8-2. They have a very excellent chance to make the playoffs, and even UC Davis. Shout out to our friend.
Yeah, Big Bone did.
Yeah, Big Bone did. They're 7-2. If UC Davis
upset in the FCS level last week.
Yep. So if UC Davis is able to win out, they've got an excellent chance to make the playoffs. The Idaho State loss hurt them a little bit, but they then bounced right back. They beat Idaho, and now they face Montana State with, frankly, all the marbles. Like if they beat Montana State, they have that probably punches their ticket into the FCS playoffs. Let's see. In the CAA, teams that I think have a pretty good chance to make the playoffs include Rhode Island, Villanova. Rhode Island is 8-2. Villanova is 7-2, and they're both playing very, very well. Monmouth still has a shot. Now they lost a game, so they lost one game in conference. That will hurt them, obviously, but Monmouth has a shot. If Monmouth runs the table, which means they would have to beat They've got NCAA. That's a very interesting game, right? And these are, NCAA is new to the conference. NCAA was for many years in the MEAC, one of the HBCU, part of the HBCU exodus out of the MEAC and SWAC. That's the teams that left a couple years ago. A&T is an interesting program. And then Monmouth has Albany after that, a game they probably should win. That's a fascinating game to me. That is a very interesting game. Monmouth should win, though, but A&T will not go down easily. A&T fought tooth and nail against CC State earlier in the season, got destroyed by UCF, not surprisingly. Beat Hampton in overtime, got destroyed by NC Central, lost a close game to Maine, a even closer game to William and Mary, and then
shout out to William and Mary,
Yep.
best friend of mine
Yep.
from back in my Virginia days, has a son playing on William and Mary.
There we go. And I'm a big fan of William and Mary football for many reasons. They lost another close game to South Carolina State, 6-point game. Then they beat the Campbell Camels. They got absolutely humiliated by Towson State. And then they got beat by Stony Brook. So this is their last chance. They have this game in Elon. They're not going anywhere. But if they win those last two games, at least they can hold their head up high. The Big South is an interesting conference, as I said. It's a weird little polyglot of teams that sort of washed ashore from other places, for the most part. At least one Big South team will probably make it to the dance, as they call it, or if you want to call it that. I think the Ivy League is also interesting. I think nowadays, it used to be they didn't allow their members to participate in the FCS, but I think now playoffs. I think now they do. And Harvard is far and away the best team in the conference. Doesn't mean they won't still lose to Yale, but they're far and away the best team in the conference. I don't know.
You're going to lose to Yale. Come on, let's.
Well,
mayhem, sir, mayhem.
I don't think they will, but they could. But they're on an 8-game win streak. They are 5-0 in conference, and I don't think they're going to lose a game. So they have a shot to make the playoffs. Obviously, they finish up. They have Penn this week, and they finish up with, of course, the big game, Harvard Yale, the week after.
The true big game of the year.
Yes, that is certainly the old one too. That's the oldest and biggest of big games. The MEAC obviously has lost some of its traditional membership, as I mentioned, to other places. Delaware State, as led by, you guessed it, your friend, number 10 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts, Deshaun Jackson, has taken a Hornets program that had sputtered, would have maybe one good year, then 2 bad years, 1 good year, 2 bad years, and now he's turned them around. They are going to win the MEAC, and I guess due to the Celebration Bowl setup, may not be able to compete in the FCS playoffs. But if they did, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a little bit of damage.
How many years until he gets the call?
Well, a couple more.
I know it's his first year.
Yeah, a couple more. And the call would still be probably from, a program along the lines of like Florida Atlantic or something like that. But
yeah, I would. Yeah, he's not going to a big. He's going to have to work himself up 100%. I get that. I mean,
he has instilled confidence, culture, and swagger that I have never seen at Delaware State. And I've played against Delaware State. I have wrestled against Delaware State. That was a long time ago because both my school and Delaware State lost their wrestling programs years ago. But
he's what you wanted Michael Vick to be for your alma mater.
Well, and might still be. Now, obviously not yet. But Delaware State is undefeated in the conference, 7-3 overall, and they're a good program. They're not an FCS. Even if they were going to, they're not an FCS type program yet. But they have looked good. They have looked very good. The Missouri Valley Conference, of course, is a conference of monsters. And they could conceivably get multiple teams and probably should get multiple teams. In North Dakota, of course, North Dakota State is the traditional powerhouse. They are 10-0. They are undefeated. They probably will make a clean run of it, but still lurking out there is South Dakota. Illinois State's a really good program as well.
I wish the Sycamores were worth going to see, but they suck. Because
I would say that they're 7-3.
no, Indiana State Sycamores are 3-7.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about Illinois State. You're talking about Indiana. You're right. You're absolutely right. But
Because they're right up the road. They're only like an hour away from me to go see at Terre Haute.
You are correct. North Dakota State has had a couple of thrillers, but for the most part, they've handled most of their schedule with a fair amount of ease. Illinois State, another good program, gave them a scare, and then North Dakota, 15-10 in a absolute rock fight. I mean, that was a very, very, very physical game. So Indy State, North Dakota is always a good game. And they now have Northern Iowa and finish up with St. Thomas. Now, St. Thomas is a recently reclassified program. They were a Division II powerhouse for many years and now moved up.
That sounded familiar.
So that should not be too difficult a game yet. But they will become a good program before it's all said and done. The NEC, the Northeast Conference, is probably not getting multiple teams in.
Lindenwood made the jump up too? I didn't know Lindenwood made the jump to the SEC.
Yeah, Lindenwood made the jump up. Yeah.
They were horrible when they were in my conference in the Missouri. I'm shocked they made that jump.
They made the jump. They had money and ambition, which like UMass had no business, reclassifying and moving up. And they're in the MAC. They're probably going to be the permanent basement team in the MAC, but whatever.
I guess I did. I thought they just moved to division to a different conference. I didn't know they reclassified it.
Wow. Yeah, they moved up. They reclassified up a couple of years ago. Central Connecticut State University, 5-0 in conference, 7-3. They probably don't make the playoffs, but they are the best team. Duquesne's the second best team, but have been on the skids. Got off to a good start, but they've now lost back-to-back games. The Patriot League, Lehigh is the class of the conference, and Lehigh, to me, looks like a playoff team. Undefeated, 5-0. Obviously, speaking of the other big game, their big game, of course, is against their traditional rival Lafayette. I think it's the third or fourth oldest rivalry. They are pretty good programs, though. 7-3, 4-1 in conference, and of course, they finish up with each other. But this week, Lehigh has Colgate, a game they should win, and of course finishes up with, their traditional rival Lafayette. That should be a great game. The Mountain Hawks and the Leopards will always be interested to watch. Then Southern Conference, Mercer is shout out to my friend Donovan James, proud Mercer graduate. That will be a very good game. Mercer's been good the last couple of years, and they have a couple of pro prospects on their roster. So shout out to Mercer. 7-0 in the conference, 8-1 overall. And unlikely to lose again. They have a legit shot at the playoffs. They finish up their schedule with the Moccasins of, let me phrase that. They are going to lose again, but not again maybe they aren't. Actually, I shouldn't speak too soon. They finish up with Auburn. Now, I shouldn't assume that Auburn will win, but Auburn should win. But they play UT Chattanooga this week and then have Auburn next week. But it'd be a delicious irony if they collected a nice fat paycheck from Auburn and beat them. But they are a very good team, and they are an FCS playoff team in my mind. Western Carolina has an outside shot, 5-1. No, probably not. No, 6-4 in a row. So no. Western Carolina does not play a shot, but they're a decent program. CNF Austin in the Southland Conference, 6-0 in conference, and they are 8-2 overall. And no losses, I think, at the FCS. I think both their losses were to FBS teams, I believe, this year. They have a legit shot, and they play Lamar. Lamar's scrappy, and then finish up with Northwestern State. The Lumberjacks have a good shot to make a clean run this far, but Lamar is good. Lamar is breathing sort of down their necks. Also 8-2, but they're 5-1 in conference. So they would have a dead heat, I guess, if Lamar beats them. So that's a fascinating game. So I'll be interested to see how that one plays out. When we have Zach, we might do a slightly deeper dive, who hopefully will be with us next week. But I'm a huge fan of FCS football. I think that especially if you are tired of some of the weirdness that has now visited some of the other levels of football. FCS is still closer to maybe the game that you originally fell in love with. Do you have a last game or two, or anything you want to shout out before we close this sucker down?
No, sir. We jumped over to the FFC level. I called out the last game I wanted to speak about. So
Go ahead.
No, we already did. We're good.
Oh,
Before we jumped over, we got the last one I wanted.
Well, then we're good.
Yep.
Well, then we will see you next week. Hopefully, we'll have Zach McKinnell back with us, and maybe someone else. I'm working on it. I'll let you know. See you next week.
See you next week.